My name is Rebecka Moore. I am the Health and Wellness Director here at Balfour Riverfront Park. So I oversee the nursing care in our assisted living, but also, and most importantly today, our memory care unit. And if you want to introduce yourself.
And I'm Harnack. I'm the Memory Care Director, and I've been with Bellefore for about 2.5 years and working with people living with dementia for over 10. And part of what I'm going to share today is a result of the certifications I received through the positive approach of Teepa Snow. So she's a huge resource of the programming that and the approaches that we have here in our memory care community.
Awesome. Okay.
You do it. There.
Thank you. Okay. So just to kind of start off really simply talking in regards to memory care is dementia. That is a term you hear a lot from doctors and nurses. And, you know, when you have a loved one with forgetfulness or the symptoms of dementia, you'll hear that term a lot. So dementia is the umbrella that covers specific causes or diseases of dementia. So the one you hear the most often under that umbrella of dementia is Alzheimer's. A lot of times you see that in a younger onset start and that kind of thing. And then as far as also under the dementia umbrella, you have things like Lewy body dementia. You'll hear that a lot. That's a specific kind of dementia that's very, it can be very aggressive and oftentimes very fast progressing. You also have things like frontal temporal lobe dementias, things like that can cause dementia or alcohol, drug abuse, certain diseases of the brain will cause it. Sometimes even long-term depression or other mental conditions can exacerbate dementia. Parkinson's, a lot of times you'll see symptoms of dementia come through. So kind of to give you a brief idea, when we say dementia, that covers all of these diseases, all of these causes that can give our loved ones, you know, the symptoms that we see, the forgetfulness, you know, maybe heightened emotions, different behaviors depending on the type of dementia. Okay, so what is dementia? It's both a chemical and a structural change in your brain. And, you know, kind of going back to the umbrella, these chemical or structural changes can have vast reasons of what causes that. It could be multiple things, kind of like we talked about before. So it's something that...
Ready for me?
Yeah. It's something that is permanent. If it's a structural change, the cells are shrinking and actually dying, unfortunately. The chemical changes are variable. The cells are producing and sending less chemicals to the brain. Sometimes they can shine when least expected, when there's a chemical change, which kind of what that means is, you know, you see a lot of times people with dementia have really great days where they're on it. They have really good days where they're busy and active and can kind of keep up. And then the next day they can't remember anything, or they're really emotional or having more behaviors or things like that. So it can be variable and everyone's journey, and you'll hear this a lot probably between Ann and I, because we both say it a lot. Everyone's journey is very different, and there's no blueprint for dementia. It's a different journey for everyone to go on. So your perception of your daily environment is variable. You can't process everyday data the same way you would before the disease. So things that maybe never would have upset you all of a sudden do, or a small change. We talk a lot about routine and how important that can be for some people, especially under that umbrella, people with Parkinson's. Their dementia is very based off of routine and structure. So it's getting to know what kind of dementia is the person going through, and how do we make their day so that it's A, productive, but B, joyful and as happy as possible. Communication. Some people, their dementia, they lose the ability to maybe form words or express what they need or want, or maybe something as simple. And a lot of times what we see as nurses, somebody can't tell us if they're hurting or if they're uncomfortable. Those can be signs that we're progressing through the dementia process. So those are things that we often look for. Comprehension. It's harder for people with dementia, especially as it progresses, to really take in what you're saying and process it the way they normally would. So how you speak to someone, how you approach someone is extremely important with someone with dementia. And, a lot of times as family or caregivers, it can be extremely frustrating because it's like a year ago, I could have a full-on conversation with my loved one, no issues. And here I am, she can't even process that I need her to go get the jar of jelly out of the cabinet. It can cause caregiver burnout. It can cause a lot of frustration as the loved one because you're used to your loved one being, quote unquote normal, and then all of a sudden they can't process what you're saying, or maybe they can't get out what they need, or can't express those things the way they normally would. And it can, you want to fix it, but oftentimes you can't. So really with dementia, the thing that is hardest, I think, for loved ones to really take in is that it changes everything over time. It changes processing, speech, kind of like I was saying before, everyday functioning, getting dressed, combing your hair, taking a shower, things that normally we wouldn't even think twice about, all of a sudden are a big thing. Taking a shower can be very stressful for someone with dementia at times. So it's how caregivers can approach these things and make the resident or make the person with dementia feel safe and secure in those everyday activities. It is something that people can't control. It is truly a disease. And a lot of times you hear people getting very frustrated with someone with dementia, like, why don't you just understand? Or why can't you do this? Or that kind of thing. And it's that training and that specialty that we really focus on here at Riverfront Park in our memory care of how can we do this in a way that lessens everyone's stress and makes it, like I said, something therapeutic and enjoyable for the resident. And it's kind of like I was saying before, it is not the same for every person. There's no roadmap. There's no blueprint. It's kind of like raising children, right? No one has a book that tells you exactly how to raise a child the right way. Same here. No one tells us exactly how we can help someone with dementia. Sometimes it's just time and getting to know people and having a calm and structured approach that helps the resident. It's not a mental illness. It is, as I said before, a disease of the brain. The structure of the brain is actually changing either chemically or physically, and that is causing these symptoms that we call dementia. It is very real. A lot of times people want to blame it on a behavior or that kind of thing, but it's real. It's a disease, and it's something that we can help people through. And it can be very hard on times, not only for the person with the disease, but also for the person caring for them. Okay, the fourth truths about dementia. So typically and always at least two parts of the brain are physically dying. If it's on the left side of the brain, you're going to lose that language and comprehension. It's on the right side of the brain. It's things like singing, poetry, words, that kind of thing. It's chronic. It can't be fixed. There's no magic pill. Maybe someday we can all hope they find a cure. But as of right now, it is not a curable disease. It is progressive and it will get worse. And that's one of the things that Ann and I really focus on in our memory care is helping not only the resident, but the loved ones and the family, because they're going through this disease too, of what potentially could be coming next in the journey. Like I keep saying, broken record over here. We don't often know what's coming next, but we can, through experience and years of being around the disease, we have an idea of maybe what we can expect and help everyone through that. And it is terminal, unfortunately, until science can help us with that.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ann again. Thank you, Rebecca. That was really helpful.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity, as I said early, to go through some training with Teepa Snow, who's a amazing guru working with dementia and teaching a lot about the positive approach. And we talked with her, and what we learned is that dementia can be treated. Doesn't mean it can be cured, but it can be treated with knowledge, with skill building and commitment, with flexibility, meaning so-and-so said they haven't had lunch, but they have had lunch. Well, we're not going to argue with that person. We're going to be flexible. If their world doesn't think they're going to have lunch, then we're going to give them a different lunch, something maybe a little smaller or whatever. So we need to really be flexible of where they're at. We aren't asking our people living with dementia to change. We are the ones that have to change when we're working with them. We have to be practiced. I work with a lot of the care partners and life enrichment and dining staff, everybody. We need to practice the approach, be supportive, and show compassion. Even though we wear masks, people living with dementia remember how you make them feel. And a lot of that has to do with the way you look, the way your eyes look with you if you are wearing a mask, the tone of your voice. That's a very important part of being successful. The positive approach philosophy encourages care partners to respond to a person's change in cognition that's not hurtful or offensive. Not like, you already ate lunch. We would never say that in the community. Oh, I'm sorry, you must be hungry. Let's get you something to eat. Also, when we're approaching somebody in particular, somebody with dementia, we do not approach behind. How scary, especially if you have monovision or binocular vision, maybe you have hearing loss, and all of a sudden somebody's touching you from behind. That can startle, and that can create what people call behaviors. So we always come to somebody from the front. We approach slow, allow them to let us into their space. Then we might get to the side of their chair where they're sitting and get low, so we're eye contact with them. Maybe we'll offer our hand. That can be comforting sometimes. Sometimes the offering of the hand before you even speak is a way to connect with somebody. And then call their name and use your name and start a conversation. Start a conversation that they can be successful with answering. We don't want to ask questions that are too difficult. We want to set people up for success. No, the memory care environment at Balfour Riverfront Park is ingenious. It's purposely circular. So when you come into our community, it is a circle with the individual suites either on the inside or the outside of that circle. And this is purposeful because a lot of people who are experiencing dementia like to walk. And when you're in a square or a facility or community where you have to stop, that can cause agitation, where the circular pattern allows people to continue walk inside and out in our garden. We also have various community spaces. We have large spaces, we have smaller spaces, more intimate spaces, and we do our programming in various spaces with multiple programs sometimes going on at the same time to meet each individual's needs and where they're at. There might be a large group who wants to do something physical and loud. There might be a few people who need to go in a more quiet area and just have some downtime. So we really pay attention to that. The decor as well, there's beautiful art up. It's just a beautiful environment that feels homey for the residents. And then each resident has a suite, has a bathroom. It's like a studio apartment, but there's not a kitchen. There isn't one needed. What we have found is although the resident suites are beautiful, very rarely the residents spend a lot of time in there. There's so much going on in the community, but they're certainly welcome to find comfort in their own area as well. So again, Rebecka touched on this too. This is something that Teepa Snow really worked hard with the certification to talk about the sides of the brain. So they lose on the left, like Rebecka talked about. They have difficulty with speech production, language skills. They may know what they're saying to you. They could be having these long sentences with word salad that we might understand, but just hearing their inflection and their passion and what they're saying, they're trying to communicate something. So it's our job to figure out what that is. And that's where the left side of the brain, where they struggle the most. They retain more on the right side of the brain for longer. So a lot of our programs are focused on rhythm, on poetry and prayer, automatic chit chat. Just about anybody that you'll meet in the memory care community, if you say, "Hi, I'm Ann, how are you?" Most of them will say, "I'm so and so, how are you?" That's the automatic chit chat that they can do, and they feel a part of something greater. So when we start our programs, we should be greeting everybody every morning and before the programs to help them be engaged in a part of that automatic chit chat that makes them feel a part of the larger group. You also will find on this side of the brain that you might hear some strange words, some forbidden words. That's part of the lack of sense, the way, what am I trying to say? It's, they don't have that, what am I trying to say? Filter. They don't have the filter that maybe they used to have. And so you may hear swear words, you may hear sexual words, you may hear some racist words. And we really try to redirect people and help them find other words to use, or find out if they're using some of these words, maybe something's going on with them that they need some one-on-one support.
Yeah, and sometimes as nurses, we can take those cues as maybe maybe somebody needs some medical attention or having some discomfort, or we can pick up on those cues as nurses in the memory care to see if maybe there's something more that we can help them with that's not obvious on the surface.
Absolutely. So a day in the life, and Rebecka talked a little bit about this as well. Consistency is really important. And we're also very mindful of first, making sure that we're balancing cognitive programs with physical programs, low key programs with high key programs. The last thing you want to do in a memory care environment is rah, 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 these residents all day long. I don't know if you're familiar with sundowning, but people living with dementia feed off your emotions. And if you don't fluctuate with a higher energy to a lower energy throughout the day, the residents will get agitated. So in the morning, they have breakfast. They generally sit with the same group of people. We're often purposeful of who they sit with according to who they seem to connect with. And then most people will come into the larger community to listen to the daily chronicles and news. And again, this is provided slowly and clearly. When we're talking to the residents about some news we're going to share, we need to do so in a way that they can comprehend and participate. Morning stretch also is something that we do every day. It's getting people's physical body going. And again, that mental memory, I will say, if we don't use it, and then everybody says we lose it. So again, that's using the right side of the brain. We do a lot of counting when we're doing the morning stretches. Keeping people rhythmic helps them be more involved. We might use music with our stretches. So we're very purposeful about our programming. And then we'll have a snack, and there's visiting, and a big part of the community, especially since COVID, is the residents have created really strong relationships with each other. Even folks who have a higher cognition are helping out their neighbor who maybe struggles a little bit more. So you'll see a lot of that, which is beautiful. After the visiting and snack and chat, we'll do trivia. One of the things that the group really likes is to be able to hear and see. So on one of the most recent programs we did because of President's Day is we would put a picture up of the president on our TV and then talk about the things this president did. And these residents knew these presidents. And if they couldn't see it on the screen, if you said Calvin Coolidge, 2 or 3 people might make a comment about that presidency. So they're very engaged, especially with previous knowledge, and then looking at those pictures. Everybody knew Abe Lincoln, everybody knew George Washington, but they also knew the folks that I didn't know. They passed that test better than me. After that, we might kind of do a little music and movement, just kind of get ready for lunch. And then maybe in the afternoon after lunch, some people may go in one of our more quiet rooms and just chill out and maybe take a little nap, close their eyes. That's absolutely up to them. They're adults and they can make those choices. Others want to do something physical, and so we'll maybe do a ring toss, or we have a big we have a game with all different kinds of movements, and we can parachute. So we'll do a parachute. People love to play balloon volleyball. And we do it in a dignified way, not a childlike way. But I'll tell you, they get the biggest giggle out of throwing that balloon back and forth and getting themselves hit in the head. It's fun, it's childlike, and again, there's a lot of laughter in the community. So after that physical game, then we might go down to something a little bit more calm, poetry. And again, this is another area on the right side of the brain where a lot of times they'll read the poetry with us by heart. They know it because it's something that has been a part of their lives. And so that some will listen, but some will also recite the poem with us. And then we do happy hour. Every day is happy hour in memory care. We do serve non-alcoholic drinks to most folks. That's just the best thing. There's occasional person who has a doctor's order for something else, but we make it as a happy hour as we've all had. You know, we have snacks, we have fun little drinks, non-alcohol usually. We may have a theme, we'll visit, we'll laugh, listen to music, dance, whatever the group wants to do.
And I just want to say, we've always had a very big sense of community around these events, but since COVID, you've really have seen the residents, like Ann said, become a family, and they really have connected, especially things like happy hour and stuff where they're really just engaging each other and happy to be around each other.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful feeling.
It's a lot of laughter, which is obviously very healthy. So then after the happy hour, we might calm down. And my time is kind of a generic time where we might have 3 or 4 people playing a card game and maybe 4 other people doing some adult coloring. And then we have 8 people who are kind of sick of us and want to watch TV for a while or watch a movie. Then we might have others who just want to do some walking. So we really support people's individual pursuits during that my time.
And you use when the weather's nice, you use the patio.
Oh, a lot of times, yeah. People will be out in the patio a lot. We have a garden out there. And then we usually end with a sing-along. It kind of brings us all together. And then we go and have dinner. I would say about half of the folks after dinner are pretty much done with the team. They've been, involved in programs. They're kind of ready to go to their room and have their quiet time. Then we have the other half of folks who like to watch a movie. So we always have a movie on after dinner. And again, the programming is very purposeful, and it's layered. So for example, if we were going to maybe name all the states, we'll start with each alphabet. Our higher functioning folks, and I would say 50% of our folks could name the states per alphabet. But then others might not be able to say, oh, Alabama, but she can spell it. So then we would ask her to spell it before I write it on the board. Then we have others that might know the capital, and others who might say, well, I was born in Alabama, or we know who was born in Alabama, so we can bring out their participation so that everybody can be a part of it. And we focus on people's abilities, what they can do. We don't want to offer questions that the whole group, somebody can't answer, or we find ways to help them answer. And again, like that layered approach, people that maybe are struggling a little bit cognitively, we'll bring them into the programming by knowing a little bit about their life and about that they had some lovely experience in Kentucky or whatever. So we really try to include everybody. We like to offer meaning and purpose. And again, that's where that relationship building between the residents is really cool too. I have one resident who used to always play bingo only because he wanted to help another resident who couldn't do it independently. And so that is just so celebrating. It's just wonderful. And the other this summer, the life enrichment team was getting ready to do something outside, but the residents self-started a program, and they found a balloon ball and started throwing it to each other without a staff person there, and then helping the other people in the community play the game too. It was really amazing. And again, that's relationship creation. People living with dementia, remember how you make them feel. So they don't necessarily all know my name, but when I walk in the community, they know who I am. They know that I make them laugh, that I dance, and that I'm kind of fun. And so I get a big reception when I come in there, and it's not because of me, it's because I take the time to share who I am, and it makes them feel good. And most importantly, I think of anything, it's safe to be you in the memory care community. When you're experiencing dementia and you're out with other folks who aren't experiencing it, you tend to shut down, you tend to isolate, you tend to become shy because you have some awareness that what you're saying doesn't always fit with other people. And so in this community, Bob tells a story 3 times to John. John loves hearing the story because he doesn't remember he heard it 3 times. And so it's a very safe environment to be themselves. And it's also individualized. We have doctors, we have career Army people. We have, people with PhDs. We have all sorts of people. And so we get to know them via themselves and their family, and really try to do our programming according to their background and interests.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have any questions about that part, or if you want to wait till the very end.
Yeah, and feel free to stop us at any time if you have a question or a comment or anything like that. So I kind of wanted to just touch base kind of what nursing's focus is in our memory care. Ann and I have both been working over a year now on kind of how we want memory care to look here at Riverfront Park. And I feel like it's a really lively and exciting place to be right now. It's a very vibrant community, and nursing does play a big part of that. Mm-hmm. We're very fortunate, as opposed to a lot of memory cares, we do have a nurse on staff 24 hours a day, which is really nice to help residents with their training through Ann to notice subtle cues and things that can help a resident let us know if they're not well or if something's bothering them. So really our focus as the nursing team in memory care is the safety and well-being of the resident always. How can we help a resident maybe that tends to have a lot of falls or has really fragile skin or things like that? How can we help them on the medical side to not only, still be active in the community, but be the safest possible? We really want to focus on minimizing medications whenever we can. We're in a culture, and I can say this as a nurse, we're in a culture of where we want to write a prescription for everything. And sometimes that's great. And sometimes it can really help people's quality of life. And sometimes as we get older and we add and add and add, next thing you know, you're on 20 prescription drugs. If we can minimize that and decrease that, sometimes that can improve the health of our residents. And a lot of times they can't tell us why maybe their stomach's always upset or having, symptoms that aren't normal. And sometimes it's just what they call polypharmacy, too many drugs. So if we can look at that as nurses and decrease that a little, that's always a good thing. Obviously, if they need it, though, we want them to continue to take it. We personalize our care plans here to reduce falls and also behaviors. Sometimes people do need medical help or support if they have certain behaviors. Sometimes in dementia, we see, insomnia where they can't sleep or their sleep patterns really off. If we can help with that or put interventions in place, maybe for someone it's a warm glass of milk at night that really helps them. If we can put that in their care plan and the nurse can make sure they get that every night, that's amazing. And some people with, as dementia progresses, some people it comes out in hypersexuality. Can we give them a medication through their doctor that will help decrease some of those tendencies that maybe, 2 years ago they wouldn't have had? Or can it help improve their quality of life so they're not always feeling frustrated? Those kind of things. So we're always going to work on that and making it very personalized for each resident living here so that they're living at their highest potential with or without medical help. And then a lot of our residents here work with rounding physicians that come to our building and working with them to make sure they have everything up to date, lab work, their medications. And a big thing for memory care is therapy, making sure that they, if they need speech therapy, so speech therapy is everything from the neck up. So that's how we talk, how we think, how we process. Speech can help our residents sometimes maintain where they're at and kind of slow down the dementia process even a little. I mean, that's a huge win because like I said earlier, dementia is progressive and it's inevitable, but if we can help and slow it down or improve their quality of life, that's amazing. So therapy is a big part of that and working with them as the nursing team. Home health also is important. If someone had skin issues or needed more advanced medical care with like certain equipment or things like catheters or that kind of thing, they could help us with that so they can stay here in our community and stay in their home where they have their community and their sense of comfort. And then hospice is another piece of that that's really important in the nursing process. So like I said, we can keep them in their home as long as possible and keep them where they're comfortable and know people like Anne and the team. And then specific training that I've implemented with Anne's help since coming here to Riverfront Park. I do an annual nursing boot camp to improve nursing processes. How can we make the care plan stronger? How can we improve things so that we're meeting their needs, whether they can tell us or not? Continual on-site training from Anne, of course, with her TIPA snow training. She's always watching and observing the staff and giving them tips and tricks of how can we make this better for the resident? How can we approach this differently? So the fact that we have that training right here in person is amazing and such a great benefit to us. And then therapy training. So if someone's on therapy, they can train our staff. Like, you might try this technique to help this person transfer to the wheelchair or to the couch in the movie room. They can help us with those techniques to make sure A, we're being safe, and B, we're keeping that individual as independent as possible. And it's always a fine balance with nursing of doing too much or not doing enough. So therapy is a great partner in making sure that we do things effectively to keep the resident as active as possible. And then, so Rehab Care, and I think they actually just changed their name.
Oh,
it's
did they?
Select Rehab Care, but we still call them Rehab Care. They do our therapy here in-house on an outpatient basis, and they can also, we can also have home health if they have multiple needs like wound care and they need help with therapy. So we have both of those at our disposal in-house, which is very nice. Bloom Healthcare, fantastic partnership we have here throughout the building here at Riverfront Park, not just memory care. They send a nurse practitioner to our building up to 4 times a week that can see our residents, can order labs, order medication changes. They get to see a doctor as much as they need. So maybe they're just having a bad day. Bloom can see them the next morning, which is really a great benefit to the resident. The Alzheimer's Association, Anne is up to date on all things and, keeps a close tab on that so that we can always keep up on, what works. And, with medicine, with healthcare, everything's always changing. So that's a great resource for us. We have in-house dentists that come typically about once a month. We can always request more so, which is really nice. We found a company that comes into the building and they really specialize with dementia.
They're
which
wonderful.
It's been such a gift because before we had a company that didn't quite know how to handle people with dementia, and it kind of started to cause some of our residents anxiety, and I don't fault them, but to find a company that can specialize in how to approach someone with dementia is a rare gift, and we're very grateful for them. And then we're working towards audiology and optometry here in-house, so hopefully we'll have some good updates on that in the very near future.
Rebecca's going to talk about the testimonials, but one thing I want to share with you before we get to that is one of the biggest challenges to getting person living with dementia into the memory care community where they're appropriately placed is really the family. Many family members are terrified. They have this, I don't know where they get these beliefs, but they have some really poor beliefs about a memory care community. And so even though it might be in the best interest of the resident, it takes the family quite a bit of time to get there. And the sooner somebody moves into a memory care community, the better for them and their livelihood. So with that, I'm going to have Rebecka talk to you just about the testimonials that we've received from people who too had some concerns about moving their loved one.
Yeah, so I'll just read this to you. It's at first we were very resistant to moving him to a smaller room, and we didn't want to send him down to a lockdown environment. This particular testimonial is someone that we moved from assisted living to memory care. What we learned was that the environment in memory care was much better for him. The care is well suited for someone with his care needs. Memory care structure is actually less stressful for him, and he has adjusted well to it. Also, he's made friends with some of the higher functioning residents and more socially engaged than he ever was in assisted living. He's been in memory care coming up a year now, and I can honestly say that the move was good for him. And my father, we have been very happy with the care provided by the memory care staff. So that's just, things that Ann and I have collaborated on, seeing those signs in some of our other parts of the building where someone could benefit from the more specialized environment that memory care provides. And oftentimes we see people flourish. So it's really nice to see that. Here's another one. Dear Ann, I'm so grateful that my mom was able to finish her journey this morning under the loving care of you and your team. Thank you for the countless things you did for her and my family. We are so grateful for the care and assistance you all extended to our mom and to us this past several years. Would you share with your entire team there in memory care? Those who lend a helping hand, whose daily vocation is directly in service to others and their welfare, have a special calling, particularly towards the end of Sally's life. Those who held her hand, fed her, cleaned her, and comforted her with words and deeds are doing the work of angels. Blessings to you all. And that testimonial, I think, is really special because it can really illustrate that not only can we help people that are at a higher functioning level, but we can help people to the end of life. And that's a real gift and something that we feel very lucky to be able to do here at Riverfront Park, is to let people have dignity and hope and community until the end. And that's something that we can all hope for.
Wonderful. And we're open for questions. I know this has been a lot in a short time, but please feel free to ask any questions or make any comments. So many people are, if you do want to talk, oh, Polly, please.
Yeah. Would it be possible to get a copy of these slides?
Yes, ma'am.
By email, because they are really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Polly.
And my son is listening in while I'm, we're both kind of paying attention here, and it's really helpful. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. We'll send those to you.
Thank you.
Who else has a question? Did we answer everything that well? Don, you usually have some questions. Anything you got for us?
Or any comments?
Well, I was just wondering if, I've had my 2 doses. Last Friday was the second one. And then there's like a 10-day waiting period. Is there any plan to allow those of us to get back into memory care to visit?
So with that, we're under the direction of the state when we can have visitations in the actual memory care unit. But I think, Dawn, you got the letter last Friday from Ann, and she can resend that to you with kind of the guidelines for right now. But as of now, we're just kind of waiting for everyone to get vaccinated so we can get back to normal life.
As soon as we know, we will let you know, but it is really state regulated right now. But we are allowing visits in the independent living common spaces for our memory care residents and family members.
Okay.
And residents, actually, we have a couple of spouses that live in independent living and their loved one lives in memory care. And we're working together to see if it would be beneficial or not beneficial for the person living with dementia to go into their apartment or not, just according to each specific people's needs and anxiety and what would work best. So we will work individually with that.
Focusing on that personalized care plan for everybody to make sure they have what each individual needs. So awesome.
I'll just say, my name is Brandy. I've met a number of you on the call. Hi, Polly and Miguel in the background there. And it's been much too long since we've had a face-to-face. So though this is virtual, it's certainly nice to see some familiar faces. And further, I just want to really thank Rebecka and Ann for investing their time in this educational opportunity. I'm part of Balfour's home office team, and one of the things that I'm so proud of with each of our associates and the opportunity I have to learn from their expertise over time, and as they grow and learn and what they share out both with other associates on their team. They teach up and laterally and sideways and out and every which way. But the deference and dignity with which the team at Riverfront Park serves individuals with memory loss or memory care needs or cognitive challenges of any kind is really something special. And I think one of the differentiators is your commitment to self-learning, self-adjustment, and ongoing improvement every day. From what you're learning from the residents in your environment, the associates, and how they react, and then you collaborate as a team to continue to teach each other. And again, part of that team are the folks who are not with us and the family members who aren't living their day-to-day, and embracing that as the whole group that is looking at these things is how I know you put in the long hours and the long days and the stressful moments. So I just really want to say thank you from your home office team for all the work that it takes to put into an educational moment like this, being committed to being that resource for residents, prospective residents, and our outside community. So thank you so much for what you do. And I'm so proud to be on a team that learns from you every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else have a comment or a thought? Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And again, I'm sure that we'll be sending out the PowerPoint to you, to your email, and then this recording will also be available, I believe. And Krista, I think, is can help us with that. But thank you all for taking the time, and we appreciate being able to share some of the loveliness of the work we do.
Yeah, and please feel free to reach out to us at any time if a question comes up or if there's a individual concern that you might want to talk about offline. Ann and I are always available. We're happy to help in any way we can. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Take care.